ever wonder why the first generation square bodies just look different? I mean, everybody knows the hood slopes a little more on the second gen, but there's just something about them that look different. Take a look at the grill. See how that's rounded? Now let's take a look at the second gen. So this will be 81 to 87. Well, they're called square bodies, but there really isn't a square corner on these trucks. For the second generation, they just lowered this hood profile, and it's not much. The thing that makes it look different is this square corner. It just seems out of place. So today, we're going to see if we can fix that. Well, here's our project for today, folks. This is my son's pickup. It's short wide bed. This is the one that we've had trouble with the upper control arm coming loose. And so we're still trying to get this thing all buttoned up. And it kind of needs a grill. I think so anyway. So since we're going to put a grill in this 85, I went in the pasture and I started scrounging all the grill parts. Surprisingly enough, they all got a little, at least one or two little dents or dings, but picked up the best ones we got, and that's what we're going to use. Now, one of the issues that I've had with that second generation square body, and I understand it's all personal preference, but that square body really, they're called square bodies, but there is not a square corner on that truck. And so when GM came out with that second gen in 81, it just, the first thing you notice is the hood's a little bit lower. I call them the slopey nose ones. But that really isn't as drastic as you might think. Let's go take a quick measurement. So I'm going to take it up to about where the curve starts. I don't know, 3.5. You make your own judgment there, maybe 3 3/4. It's somewhere in that area. And on that one we got, what, 2 3/4, give or take? So 3.5 to 2 3/4. So depending on how you measure it, it's a 1/2 to 3/4, somewhere in there. Relative to perception though, it looks like a lot more, don't it? That's to me anyway. I think the issue is this square corner on that grill. It actually changes, in my mind, it changes the whole face of that pickup. So today, we're going to see if we can flip them around. Just offhand, that doesn't sound like that ought to be a challenge at all. And I don't think it's very complicated. The one thing that I've noticed as I was looking at these things is the width along, in this case, the width of the top, right? So if this is the factory top, the width here is bigger than the width down here. Now that translates into the rail that goes across the top is a little wider than the rail that goes across the bottom. So when you flip them and you put the top on the bottom, you also got to flip the horizontal rails. The other thing I discovered while I was trying to figure this stuff out, I think both of these fenders are what came from the factory. You look at that gap right there, and then let's go to the other side. And you look at that gap there, they ain't the same. And the reason I think that's going to be important is because, remember, this is the corner we're rounding. So that one looks like it may be okay. That one, I don't know. It may turn out we're going to have to put a little patch in there. If you've never taken apart the grill on one of these trucks, this surround is just held on by these, I don't know what kind of nuts they are. They screw onto this plastic and they cut their own threads. You could probably get to these without taking the grill itself out. I don't know. I've always taken the grill out because with the grill in there, these are a bear to get out. With the grill out, they're pretty easy. The last thing that I don't know about at this point is the factory crimps these in place. Right, there's a little a little crimp. I don't know if you can see that, but they crimp this stainless so these things don't move. This one, you know, just checking to see if I can move it or see if I could uncrimp it. You can. You just got to be careful. I got these, you know, I got this big pair of channel locks, and basically just get up underneath it and kind of flatten out that, because they just took a punch and whopped it. All right, so you just want to flatten that back out again. Anyway, I don't know if we need to move them yet or not. It would seem that that we might. Anyway, I'm gonna put the camera around, and we're gonna see if we can get these things mounted on there. Hang with me. These corners right here are the hardest with the headlights in. If you didn't have the headlights in, this would be a piece of cake, but I'm gonna have to get a wrench. Well, you can see one of my headlights fell out. I got to replace all the little plastic clips on these headlights. Most of them are broke. Didn't know that. Okay, so, well, let me shut the hood and let's have a look at this corner. Well, I don't know about you, but yeah, kind of ignore my dent right there. But I think that makes a world of difference on this thing. Let's have a look here. There's just a little bit of that, little bit of the opening showing through right there. I'm not sure that's big enough. I'm going to worry about that. But if my son wants to close that up, we'll take this off and we'll weld a little corner on there. I like it. So let's see if we can get a grill in here. For those of you who have played with these grills before, you probably see where a possible problem is going to come. But let's get the grill in, and we'll go from there. And oh, by the way, I took the bumper off this thing. You don't have to take the bumper off, but if it's easy to get off, you'll be happy when you're putting this grill in and out. I don't know about aftermarket ones, but this thing's tight. All right, so if you haven't had one of these grills out, one, obviously you got to get it shoved between the hole right there. But in terms of screwing it in, there's screws that come, and these are Torx, I think they're 15s. When I grab them, I'll let you know. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 Torx screws up on the top side, and then there's hex head screws that come in down here. You can see that grill's busted right there. So I have to find me a little flat washer. And the same thing over here. So, and then there's one that comes up from the bottom, right in the middle. You got to get it from the bottom side. I didn't have to take the grill. I didn't have to take the bumper off this thing, but it makes everything to do with this grill, putting in and out, a lot easier. So if you can, you'll be happier. If you can't, you can still get it. Let me hunt down the screws, and looks like I need to go change the battery in this camera. So let me hunt down the screws, and I'll change the battery, and we'll be right back. Looks better already. Okay, now let's have a look at the bezels. All right, I got them set in there. Let me put some screws in so they're actually located. Kind of forget the Popeye there. All right, so did you guys see the little issue? Not a big one, and not everybody would notice, but there is just a little one. I'm gonna flip the camera back around, and I've got another set of these headlight bezels. Let's have a look at them. All right, so here they are. See that this will be, let's see, this is the passenger side and this is the driver's side. Compare that top left corner and this is the bottom on the other one, so I'm going to put them side by side. You see it? Right where that molding was square, the corner is just a little more rounded than it is on the bottom side where the corner is rounded, or the molding is rounded. Let me show you on the truck. All right, you see a little bit of discontinuity there. The plastic is more square than the molding, and then down here the plastic is more rounded than the molding. So short term, we're going to run it like this, but I think long term, molding that top to have a little more curve and molding that bottom to have a little more, a little more corner would probably finish this out pretty good. I don't think many people are going to catch that. Now people that are C10 people, they start scoping it out, they'll catch it. But in my mind, rounding that corner is worth the effort. And on this side, none of that gap that I showed you at the beginning of the video is actually showing up. On this side, let's see once we got it tightened down. On this side, you can see the corner of it. All right, so when we pull this apart to mush this plastic, right, square this one and round this one, I'll weld in a corner right there and close that gap up. All in all, I'm pretty happy with this thing. Still a few things we need to work on, but actually that thing fit pretty well. The trim lines up pretty well. That corner doesn't line up as well as I'd like it to, but it probably doesn't help that this side it had a fender bender. So I'm going to have to straighten the fender out a little bit, and I think that'll fix that. That'll fix this little kink right here. If you look on this side where it hasn't been bent, that flows pretty good. There's a part of me that thinks that somebody at GM actually thought about this because that fits pretty well. All right, those of you who've been watching, I'm trying to put rack and pinion on one of these square bodies. Specifically, I'm trying to put rack and pinion on my 67. So I'm gathering up rack and pinions and doing measuring and, the whole geometry and bump steer type of thing. Still got a few more racks to go check and to measure. Hopefully next weekend we'll do a rack and pinion. If you've missed it, click on the link that's going to pop up here. And until next time, I'm Random at RandomRodShop, and I'm out of here.